There is the recent arrest of a suspect in the Devil's Den murders. This was a major win for police, a huge relief for the Ozarks, breaking news across the country, and just maybe the big break that a cold case detective in some other states has been waiting for. And I'm sure you're aware, 28-year-old school teacher Andrew James McGann is the man police say fatally stabbed Clinton and Kristen Brink in front of their two young daughters in Arkansas's Devil's Den State Park. The crime was vicious, brazen, and according to police, completely random. But sadly, that doesn't make it unique. McGann's arrest caught the attention of the daughter of Honoree Fleming, a retired college dean who was shot to death on a hiking trail in Vermont in October of 2023. Vermont State Police have been in touch with the folks in Arkansas, but for now, they say there's no evidence that those two cases are connected. But then there's Wisconsin and the fatal stabbing of a 24-year-old man in 2020. John Schmutzer was ambushed and killed in Devil's Lake State Park. That alone, by the way, is worth a phone call to the cops on the Devil's Den case, right? There is more. In the Devil's Lake murder, witnesses described a potential person of interest who was 5'10" to 6 feet, dressed in black with a hood, a mask, and a backpack. Devil's Den witnesses described a man of medium build and height in a dark shirt, dark pants, dark baseball cap, sunglasses, and a backpack. I'm going to stop right there. I want to bring on Regan Wynn, digital producer with our News Nation affiliate KNWA in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Thank you so much for coming on. So how seriously are authorities taking this right now?
Serious enough to discuss digitally transferring DNA evidence. I mean, we established that there's no possible connection with Vermont at the moment. They just exchanged notes, but the Wisconsin police they're looking to compare the DNA evidence. That's how seriously they're taking it. By the way,
any new details on this guy since his arrest? Because he didn't say very much in his hearing last week. What are we learning about him?
The two new things we have this week is arraignment has been moved up 2 weeks from the 25th to the 14th, as well as today, KNWA learned that he had applied to 2 local schools before being hired by the Springdale school we knew he was going to be slated to work for, and he was rejected by both those schools. So a lot of questions there as we continue to follow his employment history.
Taking these allegations as true, how frightening is that? And by the way, we know McGann has teaching certifications in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas. Do we know if he has connections to Vermont and Wisconsin?
So far, we have not seen teacher certifications in Vermont or Wisconsin. However, he is 28, and you're running out of time to be able to collect as many certifications as you can. So if there's a connection in either of those states, I'm not sure it would be through employment as much as it would be through travel or school.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. You don't win a prize at the end of the day for trying to get as many certifications as possible. Vermont, as you said, so Vermont State Police, they're saying there's likely no connection. That could change. We're going to explore that in a minute. Just going back to authorities in Wisconsin, I got to say, some of the similarities are uncanny, no?
I mean, all the similarities from the suspect's description to the place to the method of death, the stabbing. At least with the Vermont case, it was a firearm involved, but the stabbing on the trail seems to ring true with both cases.
And by the way, do we have any idea a little bit more about, if these allegations are true, the motive, the planning, some more details of the crime? How close are investigators keeping this to the vest? I mean, we're still in kind of the early stages of this and trying to understand, but what have you learned over the past week or so?
As far as investigators have released, it seems to be a random target, but not a random act. It was not an act that was not planned. His license plate was taped over. There was some level of looking to murder someone that day, but so far investigators do not think he was targeting the Brinks specifically, or even the Brink children or the Brink couple themselves. It seems to be a random target, but not a random crime.
And by the way, this is why there is this conversation. Is he connected to what could be arguably seen as other random killings? And by the way, he's from Chicago, right? I mean, do we know a little bit more about his past, his life, things of that nature?
What we have confirmed so far is he did go to high school, two Chicago high schools, and he finished up at Oak Park, that's in the Chicago area. We also learned that Devil's Lake is just a 3-hour-ish drive from the Chicago area. So that's also something to keep in mind as we try to figure out what the connection is. I was talking with the KNWA newsroom today. It's not our job as journalists to put the strings together, but merely to place the thumbtacks on that decision tree. And so as we continue to learn more, we're making notes and seeing if there's possible connection.
Is this shocking to the community? I mean, Devil's Den, does anything like this ever happen?
You hear that a lot whenever you're covering, well, a lot of the nation thinks like rural community. And it's safe to say things like this typically don't happen here. And I think it shook a lot of people here. Devil's Den is a highly trafficked state park. It's one of, the prides of Northwest Arkansas. And so it definitely shook the community, and it's even the media community. We don't cover things like this often.
And I'll tell you, I mean, thank goodness they caught the suspect. Look, he's innocent until proven guilty, but at the end of the day, when someone's at large after such a brazen attack like this, it can definitely scare the community. Unfortunately, it's brought a lot of eyes to this area for all the wrong reasons. Regan, Wynn, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.